fucking lame. And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, what's going on with my stocks? No, nothing.
There's no such thing as Disney executives who replace everyone you love with diverse women who complain about the patriarchy. Now be a big boy.
Rachel Zegler, the actress tapped to lead Disney's upcoming Snow White remake, suddenly finds herself facing two jaw-dropping rumors. First, that Disney has quietly dropped her from the project. And second, that she's now threatening to sue South Park over a planned parody that targets her.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
The backlash has become so overwhelming that it's overshadowing the entire Snow White 2025 film. Fans are torn, industry insiders sound worried, and the internet can't get enough of this growing spectacle.
Kind? If you want to be kind, disappear and take the patriarchy with you. Seriously, go away, stalker.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Someone save me, but not a prince. Don't.
Anybody but a prince.
Don't you dare save me.
So, how did a simple fairy tale revival spiral into messy talk show cancellations, potential lawsuits, and a controversial cartoon parody that set social media on fire? Let's dig into what really happened behind the scenes and why everyone seems to be pointing fingers at Rachel Zegler. When news first broke that Rachel Zegler would star in a live-action remake of the 1937 Disney classic Snow White, reactions were mixed. Many people praised her talent and hoped the project would breathe new life into a cherished favorite. But almost immediately, Rachel's candid interviews made waves among traditional fans. She referred to aspects of the original film as outdated and implied that Snow White's story needed a major overhaul for modern viewers.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be.
In some circles, these remarks were welcomed modern audiences. They argued, want strong female leads, not passive characters awaiting rescue. Yet longtime Disney loyalists felt blindsided. They believed the original film's wide-eyed innocence was precisely what made it iconic and timeless.
Kind of a Disney magic that had depth, that had absolute, it was riveting, and it's based, of course, on a Brothers Grimm story.
Resentment brewed online, with hashtags criticizing Rachel's attitude and slamming Disney for fixing what wasn't broken. What started as mild annoyance soon gained momentum, especially once Rachel doubled down, calling the 1937 plot antiquated and hinting that her version of Snow White would be deeply reimagined.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Meanwhile, inside Disney's headquarters, nervous chatter began to spread. Casting Rachel signaled a desire to modernize, but the fear was that her blunt statements had the potential to alienate core fans, unraveling Disney's track record of profitable remakes. Even so, the company largely shrugged it off at first, assuming the drama would blow over once they released a few visually stunning trailers. Instead, the uproar only grew.
Actresses should be quiet. I understand
She's such an asshole.
You called her a pig?
She's a pig. I know, I'm harsh, but sometimes I really
She's
get
a young girl.
Oh, f her.
We've called people slam pigs.
Stoked by internet memes that mocked Rachel's criticisms. By the time she called the prince's role a stalker, it was clear a serious PR storm was looming. Behind closed doors, whispers emerged about growing tension between Rachel Zegler and key figures at Disney. Though the studio had planned to highlight her heavily in promotional segments, rumors spread that executives were second-guessing that strategy. The more Rachel spoke publicly about fixing Snow White, the more they worried about an avalanche of negative headlines. As a result, an awkward pattern developed. One day she'd appear on a talk show lineup, the next, the appearance would mysteriously be canceled.
Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Then came speculation of friction with Gal Gadot, cast as the evil queen. Observers noted that when they appeared at an event together, they barely spoke, let alone posed for any warm, friendly photos typical of co-stars.
And not included in this carousel of 13 pictures, you guessed it, her co-star Gal Gadot.
A few tabloids insisted Rachel grew frustrated if Gal's comedic improvisations threatened the new Snow White narrative zone that was supposed to emphasize the heroine's independence and modern mindset. Others suggested Gal felt the production itself was spinning out of control, with no consistent direction from Disney's top brass. Inside the studio, the initial excitement about reimagining Snow White turned into daily crisis management. Each new snippet of behind-the-scenes conflict was seized upon by fans and critics alike.
So then they take out the little people, instead they call it Snow White and the Seven Magical Beings, and they post a photo, and this looks like a drum circle at Chico State.
Hollywood has a habit of overcorrecting, and they'll often do things that don't even really make sense to try and stop a small group of people from being offended.
Meanwhile, Rachel, who had been a breakout star in earlier roles, found herself under more scrutiny than ever. She was enthusiastic about altering the classic fairy tale, but Disney seemed increasingly alarmed by her provocative soundbites. Negative press could already doom a film.
In this case, we see someone who's pretty influential, possibly costing the Disney studio $100 million or more.
Hearing that the lead actress was calling the original story problematic made matters worse. Just as it seemed the controversy might settle, news broke that South Park was preparing a parody aimed squarely at Snow White 2025 and its lead actress, Rachel Zegler. Known for leaving no pop culture moment unscathed, the show reportedly plans to lampoon Zegler's interpretation of Snow White, portraying her as obsessed with proving how outdated the 1937 film was, lecturing everyone about saving society while ignoring any constructive criticism. Though the episode has not aired yet, early information suggests it will include behind-the-scenes chaos and exaggerated Disney exec reactions mirroring online rumors. While South Park has mocked Disney in the past, this upcoming DEI special is expected to go even further, with insider sources revealing it will parody Zegler through a reimagined song titled Whistle While You're Woke. It's also said to feature alternate universe Snow Whites and satirical takes on modern diversity casting. Even people who hadn't followed the Snow White drama were intrigued by the question, why was an animated show mocking an actress so relentlessly? She felt the planned parody misrepresented her stance, reducing her genuine passion for progressive storytelling to shrill ranting even before it aired.
Things are about to get worse because Rachel Zegler is already beginning to get very unhinged behind the scenes towards South Park Studios.
Insiders claim she discussed releasing a statement, but was advised by Disney to refrain, likely to avoid provoking a more savage round of South Park satire once the episode goes live. Some speculated that her frustration wasn't just about what the creators were planning to mock, but also about the sense that Disney wasn't stepping up to defend her. For Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, the timing couldn't have been worse.
Now, where it stands right now is that the Walt Disney Company is in pure panic mode, given the fact that their once trusted critics are now going against them.
Between underwhelming box office takes and controversies involving other franchises, the last thing the studio needed was a meltdown around Snow White, particularly after investing heavily in its production. Throwing fuel on the fire, the media seized on rumors that the parody could be followed by a full-blown DEI special from South Park, suggesting the show's creators weren't done poking fun at big studios for pandering.
And that's when I start to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. Why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
Disney, historically tight-lipped when dealing with controversies, showed little desire to punch back. There's a known risk. Any direct condemnation of South Park typically results in the show doubling down. Yet not saying anything also fueled speculation that the company had no cohesive plan and might even be reconsidering the entire project. All this speculation pointed to one glaring truth. The film's marketing strategy was in complete disarray. At one point, Rachel was scheduled to appear on a series of high-profile talk shows, presumably to showcase her fresh take on a beloved character. One by one, those slots vanished. Official statements blamed unforeseen scheduling overlaps, but that explanation rang hollow for many observers. The result? A swirl of gossip that Rachel had effectively been sidelined, which only ramped up the controversy more.
The centerpiece of this story is how bad PR can really cost an ambitious project hundreds of millions of dollars, which I personally find fascinating.
Then came whispers that Rachel Zegler might sue either the South Park creators over their upcoming parody, which she reportedly sees as defamatory, or Disney for breaching contract terms by canceling her press commitment.
Several months, and that Zegler is already warning Paramount of creating a legal case against not just them, but also South Park Studios and its creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
While none of these rumors were confirmed, they gripped the internet. The idea of a rising actress trying to take on an influential animated show made for a dramatic headline. Others found it more believable that she'd clash with Disney if she felt they were backing out of contractual obligations to promote her. The notion that she might be dropped by Disney began circulating around the same time. If Disney executives believed her public statements were hurting the brand and, if reshoots were too costly, they might decide to quietly limit her involvement and pivot the marketing to other cast members. The storyline that she threatened legal action, while unverified, kept popping up in fan discussions. People wondered if this was a negotiating tactic, a reaction to feeling blindsided, or just another rumor fueled by the non-stop drama. Then there's the question of Rachel Zegler's future. Her talent isn't in doubt, given her acclaimed performances in earlier roles. But if she's viewed as a polarizing figure within the industry or worse, as someone who courts controversy rather than deflecting it, certain producers might hesitate to attach her to big-budget films. Alternatively, if it turns out she's vindicated that Disney mismanaged the rollout or that the press sensationalized her comments, she could find a new wave of sympathy and respect. Hollywood is notorious for quick reversals, and the success or failure of Snow White might radically reshape her next career steps. At its core, this turmoil shows how tricky it is to remake a beloved classic in modern Hollywood. Change too much and risk alienating fans. Change too little and critics call it stale. Rachel Zegler's effort to modernize Snow White has landed her in the crosshairs of a legacy studio, a devoted fan base, and the satirists at South Park. For now, the chatter continues about Rachel's future with Disney, the possibility of lawsuits, and whether South Park might strike again. One thing's certain, Snow White 2025 is now bigger than the movie itself, and nobody, not even Disney, can predict how this will end.